Bande Rupa Sanatana Raghunjagan Sri Bhagavad.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome everyone to the Wednesday night reading and discussion of Chaitanya-Charitamrita, the postgraduate study of Vaishnava literature in this age of Kali Yuga. And it is quite the blessing of our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, to have this literature translated into English for our benefit and for the benefit of future generations of people in this declining age of Kali Yuga, where people are always engaged in some kind of cheating and lying. This seems to be one of the features of this modern society that we live in, is that truthfulness has been destroyed because of sinful activity. And you cannot get honest information from the media. You cannot get it from the governments. And you cannot get it from any sources that exist these days, because everyone's lying. This is the way it is. It's called, one of these politicians calls it fake news. And it just goes on and on and on every day. We're brainwashed by these so-called outlets of information, although they accused us of brainwashing. I can remember the Attorney General of Ontario came to my office when I was president of ISKCON Toronto. He asked me, Vishwakarma, you're brainwashing people. I told him, oh, really? I said, well, you are brainwashed, not us. And there was a group that came from America, a fellow Ted Patrick. And Ted Patrick was a professional deprogrammer. It was a huge story across Canada. There were hundreds and hundreds of newspaper articles and interviews. And I was invited to speak at on a very famous program. Actually, I was a regular guest 5 times on the Morton Shulman File on City TV. And after the devotee Rudrani was kidnapped by Ted Patrick, they tried to accuse me of brainwashing people, just like the Attorney General did. I told the Attorney General, here, read this Bhagavad Gita, and then after you read it, you come back and tell me I'm brainwashing people. Prabhupada said, yes, we are brainwashing. We are cleaning people's brains of all the dirty material. That's what brainwashing was, not hypnotizing people. I had a debate with Ted Patrick at the University of Toronto. He said, oh, you're a terrorist. You make your babies eat off plaque. You treat your dogs better than you treat your babies. You make them eat off wax paper on the floor, sitting on the floor. Oh, yeah, right. It's just like they were saying, you're brainwashing people. Well, what are we doing to brainwash them? You get them up early in the morning. We were rising early in the morning for Mangal Arti, 4 o'clock. A lot of very successful people get up very early. So it's not something that's peculiar to our group, but they said sleep deprivation. You're not letting people sleep enough. Of course, we went to bed at 9:30, 10 o'clock, got up at 4. That's 6 hours rest. You don't let them eat meat. We don't let people eat meat. Yes, that's called food deprivation. If you study about this idea of brainwashing, there are many books that are written about it. So they're saying if you deprive people of sleep, if you provide people or don't provide people with proper nourishment, and you get them to repeat certain mantras over and over again or chanting, you can see, Balaram, how they misconstrue that. Oh, you get people chanting all the time, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Your brain, you've got them under brain control through this mantra, through this food deprivation, through this sleep deprivation. So they took the girl from our temple, Rudrani, and they took her to Nova Scotia, which is on the east coast of Canada, and they tried to make her normal again. Now, what did they try to do? Well, they tried to get her to watch TV. Oh, watch TV, be normal. And tried to get her to eat meat. And then tried to have her sleep extended hours to make her normal again. These people are crazy. They're the brainwashers. Just like in the modern world, there are so many frauds in the spiritual circles, cheaters, absolute frauds. And they have their followers brainwashed into thinking they're pure devotees. Yeah, despite the fact that these so-called pure devotees steal money, they violate children, they've killed people, they've done all kinds of horrible things, but still they excuse themselves, it wasn't our fault. They lie, they cheat, they're posers, they're posturers, they're fake gurus, especially in the ISKCON movement. Such a bunch of garbage. No wonder they expelled all the Prabhupada disciples, except a few elitist group that walk around and spend money irresponsibly without any accountability. Just see, Balaram, recently, the GBC Bhakti Marg in Canada, in the last 3 months, he flew to Vancouver for a Vyas Puj. Then he flew to Alachua, Florida, came back to Toronto, then flew to Florida. These are long flights, by the way. Then from there, he flew to India. He got to India, he flew around in India. He came back to Canada here. He flew up to Montreal. Then he flew back down to Toronto. Then he flew to Cuba. Now he got back to Toronto. He just flew to Hawaii. Where do you get the money for that, buddy? How many of us can get on a plane and fly anywhere? Where's the money? You got to have a lot of money to fly around. They steal money from these innocent people that donate to the society, and they use it for their rock and roll guru lifestyle. It's a fraud. I defy anybody to try to tell me we're brainwashed when they're brainwashed and they support this madness. This is pathetic. And this is going on in the name of the movement of Lord Chaitanya. Unbelievable. Who would have thought? It's very disappointing, actually. Just as you all know, Balaram, when we were in the early years, did we ever treat money like that? Was that the way with no accountability? No accountability. Not any organization allows this, but it goes on in the ISKCON movement. They spend millions and millions of dollars traveling around as rock and roll gurus. And then if we say anything, hey, don't bring it up. Don't mention names. You're offensive. You're a bad devotee. Yeah, okay. I'm not so stupid not to speak out against what we can see are obvious crimes against the Sankirtan movement of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya. Go ahead. Oh, you've got skeletons in your closet. Okay, tell me who doesn't have skeletons or problems in their life. I've made mistakes in my life. I admit that. But you can rectify yourself. That's our philosophy. You can do better. This is a journey in time. And our goal, Balaram, is to serve the truth, the legacy of Srila Prabhupada's mission by not changing anything that he taught us, which is their business. They're imposters, they're posers, they're pretenders, and it goes on in the name of the Sankirtan mission. So enough of that. We're going to go back to the memorandum of Srila Prabhupada. And surprisingly, everyone, here's the Jaluduta diary. We've read through it. It feels like we just started again. Of course, we've been doing these classes for a year. Time just marches. Who could have thought? But we're going to go to the memorandum. I thought it would be interesting for us to see Prabhupada's notes here on the memorandum and how he jotted down the different titles for the Srimad Bhagavatam, which was in his mind back then, to translate the Bhagavatam, which is the cream of the Vedic literature. And he was giving the titles, so we'll look at you can see I didn't include the handwriting as much because I wanted to concentrate on the English for us, but you can at least see his divine script there. Number 1, the Absolute Truth, Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. 2, Symptoms of Objectivity, Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto. 3, Creation of Material World, Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto. 4, The Sub-Creators, Srimad Bhagavatam, fourth canto. 5, The Planetary Systems, Srimad Bhagavatam, fifth canto. 6, Lord the Protector, Srimad Bhagavatam, sixth canto. Amazing. 7, The Creative Impetus, Srimad Bhagavatam, seventh canto. 8, Change of Manpower, Srimad Bhagavatam, eighth canto. 9, The Science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, ninth canto. 10th canto, Krishna, the Cause of All Causes. 11, The Path of Liberation, Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto. And 12, The Summum Bonum, Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto. So Prabhupada managed to write the Krishna books in the early years in case he couldn't complete the 12 cantos. And he did get up to the 10th canto and was in the process of translating it for us, and unfortunately had his departure from this material world in November 1977. November 14th it was, or 17th, Yaśodā. What day was it? 14th or 17th? Either day. Sorry for that, Prabhus, I should remember. Okay, and here we have, we're going to show the page, the next page, which is Prabhupada's trip. So we see Scindia's overseas services, India, Pakistan, UK continent, India, USSR, India, US, Atlantic and Gulf ports, India, Great Lakes, Eastern Canada. And there you see the beautiful journey that he made from Calcutta down through the Arabian Sea and then up to the Mediterranean, and then to the Suez Canal, and then across the ocean to Boston, and then New York. And he arrived September 19th, 1965, and began his work of spreading Krishna consciousness to the Western-speaking countries. So what a tremendous sacrifice he made for everyone's benefit. And we certainly appreciate all of you coming this evening to this Chaitanya-Charitamrita reading and discussion, which we started from the beginning of these classes. And now we're marching through the first volume of Adi Leela. And we'll look forward to this evening's reading and discussion headed up by our godbrother Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. Now we'll go to the kirtan of Srila Prabhupada or Bhajan of Jaya Radha Madhava as the beginning of the discussion, the class, and then move forward with the verse and translation. This is in New York, by the way. I know that because Jagadish is in the audience, and I believe I was downstairs cooking during the class. So unfortunately, I wasn't upstairs for this opportunity, but I do recall that this was just before I got my second initiation in 1972. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava जय पुष्पात् परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य सत्र सदस्य मौल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। रामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। स्वामीत भक्तवृंद की जय। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असमर लॉर्ड। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असमर लॉर्ड। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असमर लॉर्ड। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1 to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2 to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3 to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4 to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Chaitanya-Charitamrita. As with every week, we start by reading a few select verses from the Adi Lila, chapter 1, which describes the importance and the benefits of hearing and reading Sri Chaitanya-Charitamrita. This is from Adi Lila, chapter 1, text number 18 through 22. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Text 19. Etina Thakur Gaudiya ke karye chenayatma sat. Etinera charana vandana tire morenat. These 3 deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text number 20. Grante Rarambikari Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinira Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Text 21. Tinira smaranayai vigna vinashana anayasyai nijavanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Text 22. Simangala charanoi trivida prakar vastu nirdesha shirvada namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Again, we will be reading today from the original non-edited, non-adulterated version of Sri Chaitanya-Charitamrita. We'll be reading from chapter 4, starting at text 107, all synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Shesha Lilaya Prabhur Krishna Vivara Unmada Brahmad Maya Cheshta Ara Pralapa Mayavada. Shesha Lilaya, in the final pastimes, Prabhura of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna Viraha, from separation from Lord Krishna, Unmada, the madness, Brahma Maya, erroneous, Cheshta, efforts, Ara, and Pralapa Maya, delirious, Vada, talk. In the final portion of his pastimes, Lord Chaitanya was obsessed with the madness of separation from Lord Krishna. He acted in erroneous ways and talked deliriously. Purport. Lord Sri Chaitanya exhibited the highest stage of the feelings of a devotee in separation from the Lord. This exhibition was sublime because he was completely perfect in the feelings of separation. Materialists, however, cannot understand this. Sometimes materialistic scholars think he was diseased or crazy. Their problem is that they always engage in material sense gratification and can never understand the feelings of the devotees and the Lord. Materialists are most abominable in their ideas. They think that they can enjoy directly perceivable gross objects by their senses, and that they can similarly deal with the transcendental features of Lord Chaitanya. But the Lord is understood only in pursuance of the principles laid down by the Goswamis, headed by Swarup Damodar. Doctrines like those of the Nadia Nagaris, a class of so-called devotees, are never presented by authorized persons like Swarup Damodar or the six Goswamis. The ideas of the Gauranga Nagaris are simply a mental concoction, and they are completely on the mental platform. Text 108. Radhika bhava yoechi uddhava darshane se bhave matta prabhurai ratri dine radhikara of Srimati Radharani, bhava, emotion, yoiche, just as Uddhava Darshane, in seeing Sri Uddhava, say that bhavi, in the state, matta, maddened, Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, rahi, remains, ratri dhine, day and night. Translation: just as Radhika went mad at the sight of Uddhava, so Lord Chaitanya was obsessed day and night with the madness of separation. Purport: those under the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can understand that his mode of worship of the Supreme Lord Krishna in separation is the real worship of the Lord. When the feelings of separation become very intense, one attains the stage of meeting Sri Krishna. So-called devotees like the Sahajiyas cheaply imagine they are meeting Krishna in Vrindavana. Such thinking may be useful, but actually meeting Krishna is possible through the attitude of separation taught by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 109. Ratri pralapara kare swarupera kantodari aveshayapana bhava kahaye udghadi. Ratri, at night, pralapa, delirium, kare, does, swarupera, of Swarup Damodar, kantadhari, embracing the neck, aveshe, in ecstasy, apana, is own, bhava, mood, kahaye, speaks, ughadi, exuberantly. Translation: at night, he talked incoherently in grief with his arms around Swarup Damodar's neck. He spoke out his heart in ecstatic inspiration. Text 110. Yabeye bhavavate prabhurantar, sigite shloke shukadhena damodar. Yabe, when, ye, that, bhava, mood, ute, arises, prabhura, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, antara, in the heart, say that, giti, by the song, shloke, or verse, sukha, happiness, dena, gives, damodar, Swarup Damodar. Translation: whenever a particular sentiment arose in his heart, Swarup Damodar satisfied him by singing songs or reciting verses of the same nature. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namaom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataha Adadanastrinam Danter Idam Yachi Punah Punah Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadasu Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Sat Karomi Svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I just want to point out that the shirt behind my head, this is a quotation from a lecture that Srila Prabhupada gave in 1969 in Los Angeles, California on the 13th of January 1969, where Srila Prabhupada was explaining the position of great acharyas. Prabhupada stated, "What we have heard from the spiritual master, that is living." That is a very profound statement. Continuing along the line of what Vishwakarma Prabhu was discussing about the misuse of funds in the service of Krishna. Now, devotees understand the philosophy that Lakshmi, or money, or material assets, belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. That's why we never see Narayana by himself. We always see Narayana with Lakshmi, his consort. And any benediction of money or success or assets is really the mercy of God, the mercy of Krishna upon any devotee. And one should not misuse the assets that have been given to him or entrusted to him. Otherwise, there are consequences. There are consequences. There's a very interesting purport, which I was going to read. Let me just get the screen here. This is from a Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 9, Text 28. Some of you may have received an email in the beginning of this class. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 9, Text 28. The text is, Evam surasura ganaha samadeshi kala, etvarta karma matayo apifale vikalpaha, tatramritam sura ganaha, Phalam anjana sapur yat pada pankajarajaha shrayanam nadetyaha. The place, the time, the cause, the purpose, the activity, and the ambition were all the same for both the demigods and the demons. But the demigods achieve one result and the demons another, because the demigods are always under the shelter of the dust of the Lord's lotus feet. They could very easily drink the nectar and get its result. The demons, however, not having sought shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, were unable to achieve the result they desire. Srila Prabhupada continues in the purport. In Bhagavad Gita 4.11 it is said, Yeyatamam prapadyante tamstateva bhajamyaham. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme judge who rewards or punishes different persons according to their surrender unto his lotus feet. Therefore, it can actually be seen that although karmis and bhaktas may work in the same place at the same time, with the same energy and with the same ambition, they achieve different results. The karmis transmigrate through different bodies in the cycle of birth and death, sometimes going upward and sometimes downward, thus suffering the result of their actions in the karma chakra, the cycle of birth and death. The devotees, however, because of fully surrendering at the lotus feet of the Lord, are never baffled in their attempts. Although externally they work almost like the karmis, the devotees go back home, back to Godhead, and achieve success in every effort. The demons or atheists have faith in their own endeavors, and although they work very hard day and night, they cannot get any more than their destiny. The devotees, however, can surpass the reactions of karma and achieve wonderful results even without effort. It is also said, phalena parichiyate. One's success or defeat in any activity is understood by its result. There are many karmis in the dress of devotees, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead can detect their purpose. The karmis want to use the property of the Lord for their selfish sense gratification, but a devotee endeavors to use the Lord's property for God's service. Therefore, a devotee is always distant from the karmis, although the karmis may dress like devotees. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Yajñartat karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. One who works for Lord Vishnu is free from this material world, and after giving up his body, he goes back home, back to Godhead. A karmi, however, although externally working like a devotee, is entangled in his non-devotional activity, and thus he suffers the tribulations of material existence. Thus, from the results achieved by the karmis and devotees, one can understand the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who acts differently for the karmis and jnanis than for the devotees. The author of Sri Chaitanya-Charitamrita therefore says, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ataiva Shanta, Bhukti Mukti Siddhikami Sakaliya Shanta. The karmis who desire sense gratification, the jnanis who aspire for the liberation of merging into the existence of the Supreme, and the yogis who seek material success and mystic power are all restless, and ultimately they are baffled. But the devotee who does not expect any personal benefit and whose only ambition is to spread the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is blessed with all the auspicious results of bhakti yoga without hard labor. So it's important to note Prabhupada's statement here. There are many karmis in the dress of devotees, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead can detect their purpose. Now, this is quite significant, very important. This is a test that one can see to detect those who are simply interested in earning money in the dress of a devotee. In another place, in the Chaitanya-Charitamrta, Srila Prabhupada describes and defines a Kali Chela, or disciple of Kali, as one who is only interested in earning money in the dress of a Vaishnava. Now, we're not trying to point the finger towards any one individual or group of individuals. We just want to point out what Srila Prabhupada is saying for our own education, for our own benefit, to clearly understand the difference between the pretenders and the sincere followers. And coming back to one of the points that was brought up by Vishwakarma Prabhu about the harassment of the authorities in Toronto, Canada, I'm sure Balaram can relate to this, because there's many places around the world that devotees and the police were very enthusiastic to harass the devotees, to arrest them, to prevent them from chanting in certain places, to put them in jail. We had that personal experience in 1970 when Karandar, the celebrated devotee president of the Los Angeles Temple, sent a few of us to Salt Lake City, and we were promptly arrested and put in jail with no explanation. And eventually Karandar got it released. But I know even in Australia, Balaram Prabhu knows, there were many instances in the 1970s when the preaching was increasing of harassment from the authorities. So this is natural. When the demons see that devotees are preaching the glories of God, they become agitated. It doesn't do them any harm if somebody is chanting the name of God, the name of Krishna. It doesn't do them any harm, but they will launch or hurl false accusations against the devotees. Like when there was a big court case in New York in 1976, And one of the accusations, whether you people are brainwashed. And Prabhupada says, yes, we are trying to wash the brains from all the dirty things of this material world. Illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, intoxication. They think these things are normal. They think these things are perfectly fine. But even from a physical point of view, intoxication is not very good. Illicit sex doesn't give very good results. Meat eating has been shown to be the cause of many, many harmful health effects. So these people, they need to get their brains cleaned up because they're addicted to so many sinful activities. If they see that somebody is restricting from sinful activities and enjoying transcendental pleasure, they become agitated. We see in the Shikshastakam of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhupada is talking here in one of these purports about the Lord Chaitanya experiencing the feelings of separation. Well, what are these feelings of separation? He wants to be constantly with Krishna, constantly hankering after Krishna. In the Shikshastakam of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is described in the last two verses. Ashlishyava padaratam pinashtu mama darshanam marmahatam karotuva. That you're always my Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is expressing that he's feeling the pain of separation from Krishna. There's another very nice Sanskrit verse where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expressed, Gopi Bhartuhu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Das Anudasaha. That I simply aspire to become a servant of the servant of the servant of the damsels of Vrindavan, the Gopikas. This is a highly elevated transcendental sentiment. But he is also expressing Naham Vipro Nachanarapatir Napiveshana Shudru. That I am not a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Shudra. Naham Griyapatir Navanastu Yatirava. I'm not a householder, I'm not a Grihasta, I'm not a renunciate, I'm not a sannyasi. Then what are you? Then he expresses, Gopi Bhartuhu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Nudasa. In 1973, we met Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles in the last days of December 1973, and there were some issues, some conflict with another devotee. And Prabhupada explained that devotee means one has to adopt the mood of Lord Chaitanya. Not that one tries to be number one. Prabhupada says that is not the Vaishnava mentality. That is not the Vaishnava mentality. And Prabhupada quoted that verse, Gopi Bhartuhu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Nudasa. Prabhupada says, that is a devotee. That's simply to aspire to become servant of the servant of the servant. We've often quoted that one verse from King Kulashekar, one of the 12 Alvars, great saintly personalities, in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, where King Kulashekar is expressing very similar sentiments. Interestingly, both Bhaktivedanta Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quoted that particular verse in many of their writings. Prabhupada also quoted that. This is basically an expression that I want to be the servant of the servant of the servant. Same mentality. But we see, just like there was a description of a particular devotee. Now again, it is not, because people will sometimes criticize us back and say, well, you're just engaging in blasphemy or criticism of devotees. You don't know what the facts are. Well, we do know from Prabhupada's purports, not that we should not misuse money. This was well known. When we first went to India in the early 1970s to assist Prabhupada with his mission, Prabhupada very quickly admonished the leaders that do not misuse the money. This money is given by the public for our preaching, for charitable purposes, for spiritual purposes. Do not misuse the money. It must be properly accounted. Prabhupada was very strict about that. Very strict about that. This is a very important point. We have seen that Krishna sends, Krishna will bless the preaching effort with so much money. But one has to be very, very careful not to misuse the money for personal sense gratification or nonsensical travels. We're not interested in a jet-set lifestyle. We've seen enough of that after Prabhupada departed. So much money wasted, so much money squandered, so many nonsense, unnecessary travels, room renovations, expensive watches, so much nonsense. All under the plea, oh, he's a very advanced devotee, therefore he can do whatever he likes. Well, not quite like that. Not quite like that. This is a very important point. Because if we misuse the assets that have been given to us, there will be reaction. There will be reaction. In 1976, there was an incident in Vrindavan where one young girl, the daughter of a devotee, died suddenly. So the devotees went to Prabhupada and say, well, Prabhupada, she died in Vrindavan. Did she go back to Godhead? And then Prabhupada started to ask all kinds of questions. Where was she? Where was she born? What did she do? What service was she doing? And she was just a very nice devotee. She had been in the temple. Some way or other, some unfortunate, tragic accident happened, and she departed her body in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada said that since there was no sinful activities in her life, she went back to Godhead. But at other times, Prabhupada had cautioned devotees not to misuse the money. Again, let's not forget Prabhupada's warning in the Chaitanya-Charitamrita about Kali Chelas. One who is simply interested in earning money in the dress of a Vaishnava. Krishna will give plenty of money. Krishna will give plenty of money. One time, one sannyasi went to Srila Prabhupada. He asked Srila Prabhupada that, if we're going to preach Krishna consciousness all over the world, this is going to require a lot of money for the preaching. And Prabhupada says, you don't worry about the money. You just follow these 4 regular principles and chant your rounds, and money will fall at your feet. Money will fall at your feet. Krishna owns all the money. It all belongs to him. All the assets of the world. Sarva loka maheshwaram. We see all over the world there is conflict in many places. Bhagavad Gita gives a solution to these conflicts. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam, sarva loka maheshwaram, suridam sarva bhutanam nyatvamam shantim richati. How to reach Shanti. Shanti in Sanskrit means peace. How to reach peace? First, one has to recognize that God, Krishna, is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, all work. Number 2, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is the owner of all property. Everything belongs to him. All over the world, all the land belongs to God. Sarvabhuta Maheshwaram, he is the friend of all living entities. And when living beings, especially human beings, forget these basic fundamental principles, then there is problem. There is fighting, there is discord, there is war. Prabhupada one time was asked in the late 1960s, why is it that there's such a big war in Vietnam? And Prabhupada's reply was, because you are killing so many animals, and the law of karma, as you kill them, ultimately you will also be killed. There will be periodic war, pestilence, famine, earthquakes, so many difficulties. Material nature is very strict. If you unnecessarily take the life of animals, especially cows, there are reactions. There are reactions. People do not understand this. The other day, somebody sent me a video of a person who was expressing his political viewpoint, and the person foolishly says, well, you only live once. Well, not quite. You are eternal by nature. You have this current body, but you're going to keep living according to your karma, according to your activities at the time of death, your mind, your intelligence, and your ego. Your subtle body will carry you to the next body. You may believe or not believe. That is irrelevant. It will happen. Prabhupada one time was having a conversation with somebody who did not believe in the transmigration of the soul. And Prabhupada's argument basically was, well, how do you explain the different varieties of life, especially even in human society? How do you explain all that? And Prabhupada said, there is no such thing as chance. Everything has a cause. There is a cause why you are born in a certain country, in a certain family, in a certain situation, with a certain body, with a certain set of senses, with a certain set of beauty, of intelligence, of everything. There is a cause from your past activities, purva karma. But in this life, one can break up that cycle of suffering by engaging in the activities of service to Krishna. Just like we saw in that last Bengali verse that Prabhupada was quoting in that Srimad Bhagavatam purport, Bhukti Mutti Siddhi Sakaliya Shanta, those who are constantly hankering for sense gratification, for liberation, for material pleasure, all peaceless, disturbed. Krishna Bhakta Ataeva Santa. Those who are devotees of Krishna, only them can be peaceful. Why? Because they're dedicating the result of their activities for Krishna. And if one is a devotee or has the dress of a devotee, but doesn't behave properly like a devotee, there are consequences. There are very serious consequences. Prabhupada is warned about this. It's there in his books. It's there in his teachings. We have to learn. We have to carefully hear. Itishu srumadhiranam. One has to carefully hear the message of the great Acharya and apply it properly. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Bo, thank you very much for that profound explanation of these points of philosophy as we carry on with the discussion of Krishna consciousness in the assembly of devotees. And I wanted to further mention there are two problems for the materialist who pursues name, fame, and money. This is not the secret of success, but it can be a deep, troubling experience for the individual, as in the case, say, for example, of Robin Williams in America. He was a very famous comedian. He lived a life of telling jokes and carrying on like he was the happiest guy in the world. But for all his name, fame, and money, that life of illusion caused him to be one of the saddest people in life, and eventually he hung himself and committed suicide. So this pursuit of material success, whether it's in the form of the straight work of a karmi or in terms of the work of a sahajya, an imposter devotee who's only interested in name and fame, may produce the same result, because these are stumbling blocks, Prabhus, on the path of spiritual advancement. Stumbling blocks. And look what happened to these so-called famous people like Michael Jackson, like Robin Williams, etc., etc. And after all, life is very short. Now we could think, I just saw a video, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, of George Harrison. And I posted it up on the Prabhupada Disciples Association Facebook page. And he was saying that you could never imagine how quick your life passes from boyhood to youth to old age to death. It just seems not important, especially when you're young. When you're 25, you think, oh, well, I'm going to go on forever. I'm healthy. I've got ambition. I've got good looks. And then before you turn around, you're 60. Hey, Shamasundar, you're 60 years old. You think, how did I get here? This is the passage of time. It's very interesting here at the ashram. I have this new fellow, William, and I'm watching his development at the age of 24. It's actually very disturbing because all he does is waste time. He has no idea what he's doing. And he has no idea what is going to happen to him unless he takes up the path of spiritual life. Because most people never relate to dying. They don't. And it's one of the most amazing things that your mother has died, your father has died, your sister has died, your brother has died. But you think, I won't die. This is absolutely pathetic stupidity. I was at the hospital yesterday for my annual cancer review. They did what's called a cystoscopy, where they take a look at in my case, I had cancer of the urinary bladder. I have to say, it's not one of my favorite days to go to the hospital for that treatment, although my surgeon was very expert in taking care of me, just like Prabhupada is an expert surgeon in the spiritual sense of liberating, cutting people out of the cancer of material life. But it was very profound, Prabhus, for me to go and see how pathetic the material body of the living entity is. Like I said, you think, oh, well, I'm not too bad. Of course, everybody's thinking that. I looked around at the circle of men that were sitting there in the waiting room. And by the way, I asked in the procedure room, I asked the staff there while I was waiting for Dr. Masumoto to come in to examine me. I said, how many people are going to get a cystoscopy today at the hospital? And the answer was 28. In one day, 28 examinations of cancer of the urinary bladder. So it is, how can I say, at a high level, epidemic level of suffering in the material world. And it was very sobering for me. And if you study our philosophy, everyone, carefully, you chant your rounds every day, you follow the four regulative principles. Balaram, you know what happens? The philosophy starts to become alive in your eyes. Wherever you go, whatever you do, you see the reality of material life according to Prabhupada's teachings and according to Krishna's teachings and according to Chaitanya-Charitamrita teachings. You see it come alive. You don't have to have any material qualification to make advancement in spiritual life. You simply have to be a very humble, sincere practitioner every day of your life of this philosophy, and march forward, just like we're doing now. I spoke to Yaśodā Prabhu. We're so blessed. We feel blessed because we have an opportunity to serve. When our service was taken away, or we walked away, or however you look at it, the service went away, and we just struggled on in our own individual worlds, trying to keep our spiritual consciousness together. And somehow or other, by the mercy of Krishna and the mercy of our spiritual master, who we are so devoted to as our only guide in this matter, the only guide, Krishna has provided us with this opportunity to serve with these classes online. And then we have a large agenda of other service that we're trying to complete in our efforts to protect. Remember this, we're here not just to do our own sadhana, but to do the preaching work. And the most important preaching work nowadays is the protection of Srila Prabhupada's legacy. That's not just my service. It's not just Yaśoda's service. It's not just Shama Sundar's service, or Balaram's service, or Vinkat Bhatta's service. It's the service of each and every one of us that are dedicated members of Prabhupada's mission to spread Krishna consciousness from him to the rest of the world without any adulteration. This is the secret. And by the way, just before I finish, this is the essence of our philosophy. I was talking to Yaśodā Balaram about the interference of the Gaudiya Math, and I've been dealing with various devotees on this matter, godbrothers of mine. And Prabhupada sent me a very profound letter. After Bhan Maharaj, I mentioned this a few times in our classes, and I was referring to it here today in this reading, how these symptoms of so-called ecstasy manifest in the character of the devotee. And somehow or other, when Bhan Maharaj was invited, Prabhu, to Toronto, he was a scholar in a sort, and he was speaking at the University of Toronto under the invitation of Professor Joseph O'Connell. When he came to the temple, somehow or other, we were very, very young devotees, but we understood when you display these ecstatic symptoms, this fake guru stuff, like you're some kind of special devotee and you're imitating Lord Chaitanya's emotions, that it was sahajya, a fake. So this type of thing goes on, and inside and outside of the world of the Krishna conscious sincere devotee. So we be very observant of everything, and stay focused on the mission that we have, and come forward and help us if you can in any particular way, with people you might know that can help us with technology or with printing, or if they want to help us print some books or whatever, publish, then they can do that. Yaśodā-nandana, please.
I want to go back to a topic that we've discussed a little while back. This was with regards to when the devotees first went to India in 1970. Srila Prabhupada brought us to the Kumbh Mela. Every year in January, in the middle of the month, it's called Makar Sankarayanti. and it's a big, massive fair. I mean, some people say it's the biggest assembly of human beings on the planet. Every 12 years, there's what's called the Mahakumbha. There is a Kumbh Mela every year at that time, but every 12 years, there's a special event. And there's millions of people that go there to take a bath. So what happens, you get all of these different sadhus from every sampradaya, every group, every organization in India. They all come there to take a sacred bath at the confluence of the Yamuna River and the Ganga River. This is Prayag, very special. So what happened is devotees, they saw what's called the Nagababas. Nagababas are a class of Shivite devotees that even in the winter, they don't put any clothes. They have a little underwear. They put a rope around their waist, a little piece of cloth to cover them, and they smear their body with ashes. And it prevents them from getting cold, but they're super austere. They live in the Himalayas, but they come down to the Kumbh Mela. And devotees, when they first saw that, they thought it looks a little odd, a little peculiar, and they would laugh at these sadhus. And when Prabhupada heard about this, says, no, you don't do that. Says some of these sadhus, they take their bath in 4 dhams every day. They have mystic powers. You have to be very careful. And today I was researching this. This is from a class in London, England on August 28, 1973. A class in London, England on August 28, 1970. It's a class on Bhagavad chapter 2, text 25. Srila Prabhupada says, as much as the bird is struggling to get freedom from the cage, similarly, we are not happy being encaged. Yesterday, we learned from Bhagavad Gita, soul's position as sarvagataha. Soul can go anywhere. That is, it's got the freedom. Those who are spiritually advanced by yogic mystic power, they can also move anywhere he likes. Anima lagima siddhi. There are still yogis in India who early in the morning take baths in 4 dhams, Haridwar, Jagannath Puri, Rameswaram, and Dwarka. There are still yogis. Within 1 hour, they'll take bath in 4 places. Sarvagataha, the speed. They'll sit down in one place, and by yogic process, within few minutes, they will get up and dip in here, in this water. Suppose in London you dip. Take your dip in the Thames River. And then we get up, you see, in Calcutta, Ganges. There's a yogic process like that. Sarvagataha. So the spirit soul has got so much freedom. Sarvagataha, anywhere he likes, he can go. But this impediment is this body, which is checking our freedom. So if you get rid of this material body and be situated in spiritual body. So like this, Prabhupada is expressing some very interesting transcendental anecdotes with regards to special events in India. We've mentioned before that there are certain personalities that will live till the end of Kali Yuga. Now, we're not going to go into detail. We'll save that for another class because time is getting short. But there are very great personalities who've been blessed called Chiranjeev. They're not eternal, but they're like quasi-immortals that they've received special benedictions to live till the end of Kali Yuga. One of them is Vedavyas, Hanuman, Bali Maharaj, Ashwatthama, Markandeya. There's great personalities like that. I think next class we'll have on Saturday morning, we'll try to deal with some of these personalities and see what Prabhupada is saying. Hare Krishna. Maybe Balaram would like to enlighten us with some of his realization on these topics. Okay.
Just 1 minute, though. I wanted to do this, if we could, and then we'll have Balaram and maybe Jonas Priya in Hawaii, and I see that Graham Garuda Prabhu is with us. They can make comments after. But I wanted Vinkat Bhatta. Prabhu, could you read those interesting quotes that have been put up by Rupesh on the chat for everyone's benefit? Are you there, Vinkat Bhatta?
Yes, Prabhu.
Could you read those quotes? I thought they were quite interesting. And thank you, Rupesh, by the way.
There are many jealous people in the dress of Vaishnavas in this Krishna consciousness movement. Such a pseudo-Vaishnava associates with money and women and is jealous of successful Vaishnavas. Although passing for a Vaishnava, his only business is earning money in the dress of a Vaishnava. Bhaktivedanta Thakur therefore says that such a pseudo-Vaishnava is not a Vaishnava at all, but a disciple of Kali Yuga. This is from Chaitanya-Charitamrta, Madhya Leela 1, 218 and 220 purports. And then there was one more quote.
Yes,
Bhaktivedanta Thakur sings that he's dressed like a Babaji. He has shaven his head and he has got tilak and kanti, but he has got at least half a dozen women, and that is his bhajana. So not that is not Mahatma, that is Duratma, a cheating. Of course, in this Kali Yuga, therefore Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, Eita Eka Kalir Chela. Kalir Chela means the disciple of Kali, dressed like a sadhu or Vaishnava, but within all rubbish things. That will not help us. He must be Mahatma, real Mahatma. We want Guru like that. The four things are Kali's disciple, friends. So one friend is this meat-eating problem, the butchers, Kali's friends, and the liquor distiller, he's also Kali's friend, and the gamblers or the gambling house maintainer and prostitute house maintainer. This is from a lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam on August 10th, 1974.
Thank you. Very profound. And please, I want everyone to understand this one thing. Don't shoot the messenger. These are purports and explanations by His Divine Grace for everyone's benefit and insight, because to break the knot, the hard knot of material attachment is not easy. So it takes the expert guru. The guru means Jagat Guru, heavy. He gives the heavy statements, but they're not to punish us, they're to liberate us from our attachments. So we have Janis Priya. Prabhu, maybe you could share a few comments, and then we'll have Balaram and Garuda Prabhu, and I see we might have a few questions before the end of the discussion today. Janis Priya in Hawaii. I think it's rather early. No, it's a good time for him. Balaram in Australia, please share your comments and realizations. Microphone, please. Microphone. Oh, the internet.
Technology.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Just on that, my good wife Jamuna Jayadevi, she says there are actually four kleshas in this way. Adi technics is the fourth one. Adi Atmik, Adi Bautik, Adi Devik, and Adi technics, and they're always ready to get us. So yes, obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for the explanations and wonderful discourse. Yes, there's, especially today, we see that the material world is actually full of cheating and lying. And Srimad Bhagavatam explains this in the second chapter. The second verse at the beginning. Dhamma projita kaitavo tra paramo niyamat saranam satam. Vejam vastavam atma vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam. So this beautiful Bhagavatam rejecting all religious practices which are materially motivated, that have the intention of gaining something. This is cheating religion. And we can see that even in the so-called established religion, people only perform that the religion, the Dharma, to get something. And we see that this is actually spilled over into, especially in Kali Yuga, it's spilled over into the religious practices that people are engaged in today. Everyone is wanting something, even the Christians, they want God as their order supplier. So it's impossible to understand the higher truth like that. Srimad Bhagavatam propounds the highest truth, which is reality distinguished from illusion for the benefit of all. This is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam in that second verse. So it's only by Srila Prabhupada's mercy that we can actually understand the transcendental process. And Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, we always go back to Bhagavad Gita. It is our ABC. It is our ABC. And a lot of time devotees don't really study the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says to Arjuna, Kama esha krodha esha rajgun samudbhavaha, is lust and lust only, O Arjuna, which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. And he explains how the lust actually develops and overtakes us. And there's a beautiful section of 3 or 4 verses in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So it's good for devotees to actually study these different sections of Bhagavad Gita to actually become very familiar with the process. This is our weaponry. Prabhupada says that this lust has captured strategic parts of our body. That is the mind, the senses, and the intelligence. They've been taken over by lust. And if we're fighting a battle, we want to know where the enemy is. We want to know, and Krishna explains all this for us. It's all there in the Bhagavad Gita. And why can't we understand? Krishna says that he's never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I'm covered by my eternal creative potency, Yogamaya, and thus the deluded world knows me not. This particular verse, 725 in the Bhagavad Gita, Naham Prakasha Sarvasha, that verse I was reading the other day, and I rang Venkat Bhattaprabhu yesterday because I thought I've just read this, and I thought that's different to the sloka that I learned. There's a difference in the sloka, and I looked back at the old version, and I saw there's a difference in the changed version. So I asked Venkat Prabhu, could he bring up those 2 slokas, because this is very important. We talk a lot about changed books. Talk about changed books. Now, a lot of, especially with the new devotees, they don't necessarily know what the original books were actually in some places, and the difference with this changed books. It's not just one word somewhere. This particular shloka and purport, there's a whole paragraph that they've taken out and changed in the actual purport. So just for the information of the devotees present, I thought it might be, if we've got time, possible to bring that up so I can just show the difference in those two versions. Is that possible, Venkat Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, oh, thank you. So on the, just looking, yes, so on the left-hand side of the screen, in the translation, I'm never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by eternal creative potency, Yogamaya, and so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. Right? So we switch over to the revised and enlarged version. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, changed. Prabhupada says my eternal creative potency. This is the internal potency. And therefore, they do not know that I'm unborn and infallible. I mean, total change of the translation. So as we go down a little bit further, purport, it may be argued that since Krishna was present on this earth and was visible to everyone, then why? Visible to everyone when he was present on this earth. How is said that he is not manifest, right? So we have those different, and then further down, as you can see, Venkat Prabhu's very nicely highlighted those what's been left out from the two. Remember, the changed version is on the right here. Now the whole area from where Kunti prays, "Oh my Lord, you are the maintainer of the entire universe, that is all taken out of the new translation. That whole paragraph is taken out. And they've replaced it with section there. So I think it might be, I mean, there it is, plain before us, the adulteration of Prabhupada's books. I'm pretty speechless for that. And I only really saw that massive change a couple of weeks ago. So I thought it was important to bring it to the devotees' attention. I mean, this is what we're about, preserving Srila Prabhupada's legacy. And Srila Prabhupada's, he came to the West. This is the Brihat Madanga. This is the big preaching Madanga that Srila Prabhupada gave us, his books. And that was the most important thing. That was his spiritual master's message, and take it to the world. So thank you very much for, once again, the very nice explanations, and Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Haribol. Yes, I was listening to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu and Garuda Prabhu to Prabhupada's lecture the other day, and he was saying that what is the authority of a book when it's changed? When you change the book, it loses its authority, because Prabhupada wrote it with a specific purpose and a specific reason for all of our benefit. Like some people say, well, he just used a dictaphone. He didn't really write them, and someone, transcribed them. Well, that was a methodology that he used later when he was continuing the development of the books, but he started writing this philosophy 30, 40, 50 years prior. And he never changed what he was writing. And it's such an in-depth study that he made of the philosophy. And he took the essence out of the philosophy specifically for his disciples. So this is what we're trying to protect. His integrity as the bona fide spiritual master in presenting the philosophy for us. Of course, it's for everyone else, but most importantly, it's for the people that are really serious about making advancement. Prabhupada said, do you need to get a guru? He goes, you don't need to have a guru if you're not serious. What's the point? This is not showbottleism. This is Vaishnavism in the line of Lord Chaitanya. Garuda Prabhu, how are you? Good to see you today. I think you're still on the talk. Maybe you could share a couple of thoughts with us.
Yes, it's good to be back. I've been so busy. It's been a while since I've been here, so my pranams to all of you. So Balaramji, I've been for 6 years focusing on this problem of the editing of Prabhupada's books. And I've just finished putting together the chapters of scholars who attended a conference that I put together. I raised $25,000 to put together a conference at the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley, titled, which is the name of the book as well. The conference was titled Posthumous Editing of a Great Master's Work. Special focus on the writings of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. 12 chapters. This is going to come out in a few months, and it will change everything. I guarantee, in a few months. Now, I gave the BBT an opportunity to work with me. They flew to Washington, D.C. to meet with me. Nareshwar, Brahma Muhurta, they flew in. They tried to convince me not to have the conference. Even a couple of the devotees who were there, who were to come to the conference, said, Garuda, I don't think we need a conference after this. I said, in 4 months when we have the conference, which I will not stop from having, you tell me then whether you're happy that we're having the conference or if it was unnecessary. Because I know how the BBT works. Unfortunately, They're simply not straightforward persons. And I have personal experience of it, plenty of evidence. I don't like to speak disparagingly about people, but when there is intentional deception and dishonesty, this is most disturbing. Now, so I put out that book that's coming out in a few months. It'll be announced all over the place. One valuable chapter in it, aside from my own extremely valuable chapter, is a chapter by Gupta, our godbrother, who is a lawyer who knows the history of BBT better than the BBT knows. He knows of all their fraudulent activities in terms of the legal issue of intellectual property rights. You will see stuff in there that will blow your mind, and you'll never forget this. Okay? It's sad, but it's all true. Now, the second book I've been working on so diligently, which has been affecting my ability to be attending these wonderful sanghas here, is the world's first concordance reference work, complete word reference to the Bhagavad Gita. Now, without going into the details of what that is, the main thing I should tell you is that I've used Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is as the leading source of information for the Sanskrit English word index. Now, in mentioning that in the book, and I mentioned again, I told the BBT, if you can get yourselves together in preserving and respecting Prabhupada's books, I won't have to write things like this. But because you don't do it, then I have to write. This is what I wrote in the book that's being published by Columbia University Press, one of the most prestigious academic publishers in the world. I wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. I'm just identifying the work. Okay. It is important to note that the posthumously heavily edited, corrupted second edition of this work with the same title, published by the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, 1983, is rejected as the author's authentic work. In fact, due to the massive volume of unauthorized changes appearing in the 1983 posthumously edited book, the BBT had to register the 1983 edition with the U.S. Copyright Office as a derivative work. As a derivative work. In other words, it's not the real work. As a derivative work, they had to declare it to be so. Therefore, the 1983 edition is not utilized in this reference work. Regrettably, after Swami Prabhupada departed from this world, some of his disciples, without the expressed approval of the author, attempted to improve on his authorized published work, which resulted in the publication of a continuing series of inauthentic, altered editions. There you have it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We're going to wind up the class because it is over time, but I would like, as a last comment, to come from our godbrother Garuda, which is Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, to close off the session with a few comments, and then we'll have the chanting. And thank you, everyone, for attending, for giving your comments. It's an open forum, and we'll try to deal with them moving forward. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, for your final comments.
Yeah, I think this point that Garuda Prabhu mentioned of taking this issue beyond their own inner circle and taking it to the academic circle, to the scholarly level, that people who are trained professionals who can see the great danger of altering and changing and re-editing and subsequent editing. And it's very deceptive because they're presenting this as the original Bhagavad Gita. If you look at the 1983 version, they have an explanation in that book of why they think that this particular edition is better than the original edition. So it's basically, they claim that they have a better understanding of Sanskrit to understand Prabhupada's statements. But, you know, there's a reality when Prabhupada, during his, for lack of a better term, during his manifested presence with us, he practically lectured from that book every day, that 1972 Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
And many people became devotees, and many scholars reviewed that book. They gave very nice reviews. They give nice commendations. So it was accepted as a classic book, as a classic edition. when they changed that, because I believe personally, this is my theory, that the reason he changed this is to infiltrate ideas that were not intended by Prabhupada, like this idea from he has seen the truth to they have seen the truth. I once asked another person in ISKCON, a leader, who is they? I said, do you have any idea when was this written, in 1982, 83, and what was the social climate in ISKCON at that time? Who is they? What were they trying to promote with this translation? Just like they have, Bhakti Ram Singh is mentioning in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the classic verses, chapter 2, text 13, they changed the word self-realized to sober. Well, you know, these kind of changes, only Prabhupada can make those changes. They cannot invent their own rationalization to make those changes. So these kind of projects like what Garuda Prabhu is mentioning, this Concordance project and these kind of things, this is very important to reestablish Prabhupada's original Bhagavad Gita. Very important point.
Thank you very much, Yaśodā, and everyone who attended today at this wonderful satsang, association of devotees to discuss the philosophy in all honesty and sincerity. And we're going to move forward with the chanting of Hare Krishna, the kirtan by Srila Prabhupada, to end off the program. We invite you to tell your friends to join us on Saturday and Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. for Bhagavad Gita as it is and Srimad Bhagavatam as we move forward on our progressive path back home, back to Godhead.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaur Bhakta Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating.